It's not about our opponents. Like, I don't know if we just try harder when we're facing like so-called tougher opponents, but they fully blame themselves, and we're like, we are more than capable of what our record has been thus far. In terms of draft, I like that FlyQuest locking in the Ivern for Spica. I thought was going to be pretty hotly contested between both Contractz and Spica, considering how popular that champion has been.
It's popular and successful, like 71% win rate of the 7 games being played.
Yeah, it's super strong. Also, the Kaisa coming out, I'm assuming at this point, probably for Palafox.
Yeah, I mean, it's another double flex. This is exactly the same one, too, we saw from EG, and that worked out great for them, so go FlyQuest.
Yeah, both NA mids going for the Kaisa mid. Also, I guess you can stick Rell in the jungle, most likely going bot lane. I mean, they keep buffing Rell jungle. They want you to do it. I think it was 13-13 that buff came in.
Do you think Contractz would do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Contractz is a man.
Hell yeah.
We just saw his solo queue. They just showed us. That dude plays anything, everywhere.
In his stage interview, he mentioned how he's like, yeah, that's his type of personality.
He's a scientist.
Let's go.
He gets bored. He wants to play a new champion.
FlyQuest, no surprise to see going double kind of like range marksman. Jayce not technically a marksman, but can abuse some of the brush advantages and stuff that you see, and gives prio for Ivern to be annoying.
Yeah, they're definitely building on a poke comp, which will be a slower type of game for FlyQuest, and Jayce 90% going mid, so they're pretty locked into what their team composition is gonna look like.
We talked about whether the Kaisa was going mid. I was kind of assuming that because Palafox has been such a mid Kaisa enjoyer on this patch and the previous patch. But with the Tristana locked in, I am wondering now, are they just going to flex the Kaisa bot, or
you
flex Trist can be bot as well?
Trist Rell is one of the most popular pairings with Rell anyways. So the fact that you keep this level of flexibility heading into your second phase is pretty crazy, because you have 4-ish positions covered with 3 picks.
Yeah.
Yep.
Only top is not questionable.
And that's the thing. They banned Rumble to prep for a possible Renekton on 3-pick like TSM did, but then they see the comp, and it's pretty bad for Renekton. Like, they don't want to go.
You don't want to jump into that?
They don't want a Renekton going up against that comp. So they're like, you know what, let's lock in the Trist and think about top lane a little bit harder in the second phase.
You could also just, slam Trist top. It's been done before.
By psychopaths.
Is Dhokla not a little crazy?
He's a little crazy.
Yeah, maybe.
I think he's someone that I want to see step up during this kind of ramp into playoffs. He was a huge factor subbing in summer.
Yep.
Played pretty well in spring as well, but feels like maybe taking a little bit more of a back foot this split from some of his high-level carry performances on things like Aurelia and Yone.
One thing I want from FlyQuest is like a Scion or a Ornn, something that is beefy frontline to help out Varus and Jayce kind of take position if they're going for poke. That's something that I think makes sense for their comp. They could also just put the Jayce top lane, but that is not an expected style of impact. I think that's just going to be right down the wheelhouse of Spirax.
FlyQuest setting up their own potential Renekton angle.
They're doing it anyways.
Yeah.
So FlyQuest banned Quinn.
They're baiting it almost.
Yeah, they're like, hey guys, we're gonna pick Renekton if you don't.
But like, would they really care if they were up against triple AD carry? Like, that seems so bad.
Yeah, I think Renekton feels bad for both teams to play into.
Yeah.
In a sense, right? Like, you don't want to be trying to get on top of the double marksman as Renekton with a Rell peeling you potentially, and whatever other front line comes in, like a Sejuani.
I like this more, where now you're breaking the flex with Rell, and at least now it's saying, we're just going to take the counter pick top lane. No matter what it is, we're happy with Sejuani and melee versus whatever you pick, which I think is a smart call here.
FlyQuest gonna have to go support in top lane, pairing with Varus. A lot of engage. Nautilus coming through.
Nautilus, yeah. I was wondering what they were gonna pick after NRG banned out the Alistar, which is not only a Vulcan special, but the go-to Rell matchup right now, and then the Braum.
Yeah, and I feel like this is a little bit more of an active comp than we've seen from Fly in the past. Like, we want them to showcase at least a different angle. The Croc is an angle, I guess. But in general, like, Jayce and Varus and Nautilus, they have quite a few engage angles from Varus ulti, Nautilus engage, and all that. I think they can play a little more aggressive early.
Yeah, I really like it. A lot of poke comps are strong early, so you want some playmaking to abuse it. And I also think even in like mid-game, if you land a lot of poke, it's sometimes really annoying if you don't have any go buttons, because then you're just like, great, they're half HP. All right, maybe we'll just get the objective, and you can't actually capitalize and get a bunch of kills. So if they are able to land a lot of poke, now you have Nautilus able to go in off of Varus ultimate, and kind of try and chain CC someone down.
at the end of it, I still do like NRG's comp if they can get away with the Ornn, right? Like their team fighting is going to have such massive engage to get in on the FlyQuest poke. So overall, I think they're relatively happy, but again, so much of this can be decided in the early game.
Yeah, I'm also wondering if, I mean, part of it is also kind of calling FlyQuest bluff, where they're like, even when you do pick these early picks, right? They haven't been able to execute it on it well enough without kind of hanging back and being a little bit more passive.
Very early game, lane prio focus comp out of FlyQuest, some scaling for NRG. We'll see if they can take this one. That's going to do it for us here. Let's head out to Gabby and Azael for the call.
AP here on the Varus, so they're going to be way too physical damage heavy against a 3-tank team. So, I think both teams are going to have similar kind of damage profiles, similar things that they're trying to accomplish. And it'll just be pretty heavily down to execution. If it is what I'm expecting, where it is that AP Varus, it's not a lot about poke, right? It's just really that Jayce has the poke.
So we see the majority of FlyQuest grouped on this bottom side, stepping up to NRG. No play will be had just yet. A little rude to seek out Ignar, but I do like that call out from the audience that we saw to Maryville. Spyrex coming from the Maryville system. In fact, APA, who made his LCS debut last week, has also done the same and even tweeted out about it when FlyQuest made the announcement, saying the Maryville to LCS pipeline is still real. Of course, since then, Spyrex has been spending his time on FlyQuest Challengers, which was anticipated to be one of the stronger teams going into the NACL. Did have some uneven start, as many teams did, but are now tied for second there. And Spyrex being somebody who came in with a clear game plan on what he wanted to improve upon as a player to work on that squad, and now stepping into the LCS position to see if he is that breath of fresh air that FlyQuest need to turn their results in the last 2 weeks of the regular season.
Yeah, absolutely. And he kind of needs to perform right from the word go, because if they're going to be able to turn anything around, has to start immediately, right? Their playoff hopes are dwindling somewhat. They're a couple games back of these teams that are towards the bottom of the playoff table, and we'll see if they can get a good trade here. Prince with that Hail of Blades, so the early trade's always going to be very powerful here for that Varus. But we have to remember, Rell does have a lot of shields to pop here, so it's extra utility with that Q against this one. You can pop Ivern shields, you can pop the Nautilus W, so it can always make it a little bit dicey.
And see if FlyQuest can play unified and be willing to make those aggressive plays. I think Vulcan and Spica and even Vicla in previous interviews have talked about that unwillingness on the stage to go for the plays in the way they do in scrims.
So if NRG win this game, C9, EG, and Golden Guardians all will lock playoffs. So there are some playoff implications for this one, 4 teams towards the top of the table, because that would mean they would not be able to be caught by FlyQuest, of course. So we'll see if NRG can get that win. They really want to secure for themselves that playoff spot, of course. And they are in a pretty good spot to do it. FlyQuest had huge expectations for this team. So yeah, a lot of pressure, I think, on Spyrex right out the gate, which can be very difficult. You're coming into a team, things are not going well. And Palafox is doing really well in these early minutes of the lane phase.
Of course, on that Tristana wanting to get the push up on the lane, and Dhokla and Impact both falling somewhat low as Impact is going for that shove over on top side. But there is some similarity in terms of how these teams are difficult to predict in how they'll do in this game, because FlyQuest has always been that, yes, we have so much raw talent. Yes, we do well in scrims, but we're not quite able to convert. And when we did have the wins, they looked good, but we haven't been able to get more. And then NRG can take down the Goliaths at the top of the standings, always being able to go toe-to-toe, but not necessarily in a manner that is consistent across the board. So we'll see how they fare.
Yeah. I mean, they've kind of been consistent in a bad way, where they beat top teams, they lose the bottom teams. And Palafox jumping forward, looking for more there.
Contractz queuing in to zone Spica off.
But last time these two teams did actually meet up, it was a FlyQuest win, right? NRG has been beating a lot of the teams at the top of the table, have been losing teams at the bottom, which does include them. And Spica, is getting a little bit of chunk there on Palafox, helping to relieve that pressure that was being put onto Spyrex. You can see the push was going heavily the way of Palafox, and almost has that first plate knocked down, about half, 2/3 of the HP already taken down from that first plate, but he's going to be going back to base very likely in mid lane.
Though Spica spending some time on top side. The ward and try is for FlyQuest, not for NRG, but Dhokla now throwing one down. Emote to emphasize the intel that he just grabbed. Getting locked a bit by Impact.
Yeah, he could get dove here for sure. I think he's actually probably pretty dead. Spica should be able to stop this with a Q, and then this should be a pretty easy kill
Root to
They
boot.
just have to wait it up because they're going to get the TP in. So maybe now you bail it out, but that now means you've kind of given away the lead that Palafox had in mid lane because he can't actually TP back to mid. So Palafox ends up having to give up some of his advantage to actually save Dhokla there.
Yep, and Contractz spending some time babysitting across that mid lane as well to make sure that nothing too much is lost. But some work from FlyQuest to try and alleviate some of the pressure and get out a key summoner from Palafox who won't be able to threaten that teleport in the near future, and now returning to lane to clear this wave.
And the laning phase is going great for FlyQuest so far. You can see a significant CS advantage down on bot side. Yes, FBI is going to be able to even some of that out. Impact had a big CS lead up on top side, already 20 CS ahead, and that is where that gold lead is coming from. It's these laning advantages in top and bot right now. Of course, it is going to be evening out through bot as Fly are sending their bot laner home. Prince is going to go back, get his base off, and we'll see if he can keep that pressure ramping. As Vulcan hovering here around mid lane, I think they have a pretty good idea that he's probably there, given the timing of the base from Prince on bot side. So Palafox is just going to cheat towards top, not be playing down towards that bot side brush, and knows he's going to be safe.
Yeah, there was quite some time that Vulcan spent around mid, and it was off of that attempt from FlyQuest to make sure that Palafox didn't snowball too much and take advantage of the time that he spent away. But now returning towards bot side, Contractz has made his way over towards the dragon. Ignar leaning into the river. And they did get a bit of this push on bot, so they can rotate the bot side over towards Contractz. Palafox also leaning. Spica on the outskirts of the pit, but the sheer presence of Vulcan, when you've got that Q to threaten over the wall, Ignar comes with a crash down. Contractz going for it, but Vulcan has to flash out. Dredge line onto the wall to create some distance. Spyrax throwing the shock blast through the acceleration gate, gets some decent poke. And even waiting from the leaning of Prince on the bottom side, always having that Q charged up to hit if energy overstepped. But no one takes the dragon, left alone for now.
Yeah, they are able to push them off. They're not able to grab the dragon for themselves. At the end of the day, it's a trade of summoners. Flash off Contractz, flash off Vulcan. They get the ignite from Ignar as well. So FlyQuest do push them off and are just going to continue this laning phase. I do favor the Varus in this 2v2 on bot side, so we'll see if Prince can continue pushing, try to create an edge for himself there. Vulcan and Prince, there's just such massive expectations for this duo when they came in. A lot of the blame, was unfairly or not placed on Ayla after spring, where people are thinking if he can get a support upgrade, surely Prince is going to dominate. And it just hasn't really worked out, which is definitely surprising because Prince looked so good in spring, and Vulcan has been a top LCS support forever. As Spica trying to look for the steal, but gets interrupted on his channel. So now going to be pushed out, and this does get a little bit awkward.
Already marked low, and Contractz, he's not letting up on Spica. Spyrax pushing up through line brush in case Spica needed some help, but no summoners blown. Spica able to walk it out of there, and Contractz will return to his red buff for the taking. Yeah,
a little bit awkward. You can see there were spam assist pings coming in around mid lane, so that looked to me like Spica was spam pinging Spyrax to try to get some help as he actually was getting collapsed on, but Spyrax wanted to fully push out the wave first. He didn't actually want to move until that wave was killed off, so he was prioritizing that. At the end of the day, it didn't end up mattering too much because Spica didn't have to blow his flash, didn't get taken down, and now is going to be starting up this Rift Herald. But FBI has moved a lot faster than Prince. Prince is coming out, but he's back in that mid lane tier 1. And this could be bad for FlyQuest if they get engaged on quickly.
Daisy's already dropped down. Impact is trying to ensure that Dhokla can't step up. Dhokla has to flash away from the Dominus popped Impact. And first blood drawn by Contractz. Ornn has come across multiple members of FlyQuest as they continue to push up, but look at Prince on the bottom side, targeting Ignar to take him down. And multiple kills going FlyQuest nade now as Impact gets it onto Contractz.
Yeah, they're going to be able to get that kill back, and now we'll see if they're going to be able to move back into the river here. FlyQuest want to be able to grab this Herald. Palafox and FBI are still around, but don't think you're going to be able to make anything happen as Contractz is just coming out of base now, as is Ignar. So FlyQuest do win out at the end of the day, despite the fact that it's NRG with the quicker engage, with the extra man there. Prince shows up, gets a freebie onto Ignar. They push out NRG, and they're able to get the Herald as well.
And good work of Impact, making sure to mark off and match up rather against Dhokla at the start of that.
I mean, it's a pretty big commitment to kill off Vulcan. They know he has no flash, so that's why they're looking for him. Dhokla's forced to flash out. It's a great backstep there from Vulcan, actually dodged the ulti from Contractz. And then in goes FBI with his ult, And the rocket jump comes in from Palafox, but Palafox, yeah, you kill off the support, but you're losing more than half your health to actually do so, which is why it's so difficult for them to re-engage. And then Ignar was trying to slink out the bottom of the fight, but Prince finally has shown up, tags him with the ulti as he's in that dismounted form and very slow. And then they're able to just reconvene at the Herald, grab that for themselves. And it's a 1.6k gold lead here for FlyQuest very early on, so things going well for them. And especially in that top lane, Impact is very, very far ahead. It is a big gold lead this early on, and he already has the Gore Drinker completed. You look at the other side, Dhokla made a pit stop for a Bramble Vest, so he is miles away from his Mythic.
Yeah, and there's just more advantages to be had because of that Rift Herald that was picked up from FlyQuest. So even gold waiting for them, but the Hex Flash from Ignar is an attempt at engaging, and Vulcan does queue away. Daisy brought out by Spica, and Palafox rotating towards Contractz, but Spirax doing the same. A downtown shot of the Shock Blast makes sure that Ignar is out of there.
Yeah, Ignar wants to go in for that engage, but there wasn't really that many people around to actually follow up. I'm not even sure if FBI was in range for the Killer Instinct, but Spica flashes away on that immediate engage, and then everyone just kind of turns on Ignar and kills him off. Spirax moves down the river, picks up a freebie with the Shock Blast, so another fight going the way of FlyQuest, and you can see, even since we checked in last, the gold lead has gotten that much more for FlyQuest. Now, 2.3k, and they still haven't dropped Herald, so it's going to be kind of bad to worse here. Yeah, FBI, if the replay is actually correct, didn't have the Killer Instinct, and Palafox is very far, so there's just not really any ability for him to actually join quickly on the play, which means I don't think this was ever going to work out. Like, I just don't really see how your DPS is going to follow up. It was just Contractz and him there, so either the Spectre client was wrong, which does happen, or FBI, just didn't have the range to do it.
And now that FlyQuest have gained control, let's see if they can maintain it with a play on mid. Palafox tries to rocket jump out, momentarily drawn back, but still has some safety to him with both his jungler and support Lurkin.
And it was a really good buster shot. That's the key thing there, is he actually buffered the buster shot, is able to knock Spirax out of the air as he goes in the hammer form, tries to jump in on him. And that's what allows Palafox to survive and to keep his flash critically. Has completed his first item there, has the Kraken Slayer. Spirax walks forward, does get one plate, and the turret will get crashed on here by Shelly, as Spica just playing very heavily around this bot side of the map. And that's what you really love to see from Iverns. You can drop your plant, you just channel on a camp, then you just go and you get active on the map, you try to harass the enemy jungler, you get vision for your team, you look for these skirmishes, where Ivern is really, really strong. And because you go for this support itemization, your first item usually comes in really fast, and we can see Moonstone's already completed, he's got the tier 2 boots, so Ivern is good to go from that point on.
And he's not the only one that's feeling good at this point. Impact with a significant lead on the top side. Dhokla, of course, on the Ornn is thinking more about what he will offer in those team fights with the Call of the Forge God and being that tank frontliner alongside Contractz. But still, when Impact is getting a lead, to just be more of a threat once he does start joining these fights more often, already having an impact around the Rift Herald, but that is doomed to come.
I mean, it's fine to be behind on Ornn, but you don't want to be this behind, right? This is, closing on a 40 CS lead, so Impact obviously got a lot more than I think Dhokla was hoping he would from this top lane matchup. And as you say, the result is that if he can get into the backline, it becomes very, very threatening. If he gets in on Palafox could be 100-0'd. And that's tough when you're playing these 2-threat comps. You have got to protect Palafox and FBI. Keep him safe, create space for them.
Contractz goes in, throws a Glacial Prison, teleport coming in from FlyQuest, and the route onto Ignar as Dhokla throws the College of the Forge God, does manage to get a multiple knockup, but FBI coming in with the Killer Instinct onto the backline, picks up the kill onto Vulcan, and Contractz is still standing, but marked low. The supports are gone, but FlyQuest completing the push. Impact flashing forward before getting knocked back by the Buster shot. Dhokla making sure to Searing Charge out of it. Nobody hit with the Q by Prince, and the action ceases, but FlyQuest still with a bit of a wave push here.
Yeah, so many low health bars there on the side of NRG, but they can't finish them off. Dhokla, Contractz, and even one other got out of there with very low health FlyQuest had a significant gold lead prior to this fight, so you would think that they would be in a decent position to actually be able to take it. Spica is ready for this play. He's playing to the side. Vulcan goes forward. Again, great buffer as he is able to absorb that initial engage. Spica's here to try to turn things around. The TP comes in very quickly from Impact, but it is FBI making the roam faster. Both of the Herald play and now this mid lane fight, he has arrived that much earlier, and that really is what makes the difference. As he gets in the back line, kills off Vulcan, he's threatening Spirax, pushing him back. Impact tries to go for the big play here with the flash in, but the cleanse is available for FBI, and Palafox is able to kill him off. FBI, Contractz, and Dhokla all get out of there at very low health, but we're back to live and we're back to FlyQuest trying to start up another neutral objective.
And because of those trades of kills, there's not much of a budging in terms of the overall gold lead, but FlyQuest first to this dragon should be able to split it. So 1 dragon to 1. Contractz spending time on that top side to try and clear through the jungle, potentially make a play onto Impact.
Yeah, Impact should be fine though. Clears out the wave pretty quickly here. Would be a tough dive without that wave there. NRG though, moving up towards the top side, starting up the Herald, has been seen on their scuttle vision, and Spirax is coming up on the Jayce from that bot side, was pushing out towards bottom, now going to be up here around mid. So FlyQuest want to fight for this very clearly. Contract's heading back to base, so looks like it will just be given over. NRG unwilling to fight for this one.
And the first Rift Herald was grabbed up by FlyQuest, so that was much more intended. Dhokla now stepping up. The gates are a good way for Contractz to get here a little bit faster.
Yeah, I thought with him basing that they were just going to cede this objective, but they're trying to push in now, and Spirax isn't with the team, so NRG again have the grouping advantage.
Rush for separation from FlyQuest. Shelly's been marked low. Ultimate coming out from Contractz, and the follow-up from Dhokla. It's focused onto Impact, who with Dominus popped is still swinging, and after the heavy knockup taken out of it, Palafox rocket jumping forward to try and finish off the kill onto Vulcan. He does manage to use the brush to create enough distance to get the hook, and then pushed away with the buster shot. So NRG, they don't manage to grab that kill, but they took down that top laner and pushed back on this fight.
Yeah, they do get 1 kill, and did anyone pick up the Herald? I don't think anyone actually was able to pick up the Herald. Did the eye just expire? Looks like it. Looks
That's
like
where I'm
did,
looking. I don't see.
I think that FlyQuest were the ones who actually secured it, but I don't see it in anyone's inventory, so maybe it actually just expired. We can probably see one more time. FlyQuest, I do believe, secured this. As Spica, focusing it down, they go for the engage. Again, they've been putting a lot of emphasis on just killing off Vulcan at the beginning of these fights. And you can see Herald down to about 900 HP. It is smote, so they do grab it. And yeah, I think maybe they thought Impact was going to pick it up, but then they get pushed back. Impact dies, not able to pick it up. So they get the local gold, but they don't actually get the Herald at all. So pretty bad there for FlyQuest at the end of the day as they lose a member. They don't grab the Herald. Going to be a bit disappointed there. Impact, it's hard to blame him in the moment, but if he's going to die anyway, obviously would have been better just go down and grab the Herald. Of course, he does not know for sure that he would be, but Contractz down to this bottom side, trying to pressure Spirax, who will respect the move and is going to back off as his team not really out on the map right now. So he has to wait for reinforcements from Vulcan before he can really step up.
That Herald play was started up by FlyQuest, so good on NRG to push them off despite being able to smite it. And now first towards bot side means that Palafox is set up to take down that turret. Like you mentioned, Azael, Spirax couldn't step up to it with not enough vision, not enough setup from the team. Impact and Dhokla have been left once again towards that top side, all on their own. But we'll see what FlyQuest can do now that the gold lead has been cut down and coming a bit more to that neutral footing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Spirax, does have a couple kills. He got the assist, but I think he's been maybe struggling a little bit on where he's supposed to be on the map as far as lane assignments, because he's falling behind in farm, down despite the kills. 35 or so CS to Palafox here, who is actually going to be out ahead in the gold lead. Still, there is an advantage up on top side, but Renekton, of course, it's not really where you want all your gold to be. You do have some power if you can actually get in onto those carries. It's 2,000 gold lead for them up on that top side, so the total gold is less than the individual advantage that Impact has, which honestly means NRG are in a pretty damn good spot, especially when the Ornn upgrades start coming through. That is going to go away in a hurry, and Dhokla, even from behind, is still going to have a lot of value. Whereas Impact's value is never guaranteed on the Renekton. We saw in this last fight where, sure, he's rich, but he got pretty much instantaneously killed off, and it's very difficult to kind of go on these solo missions when there is so much peel and when there is so much lockdown, because this double marksman comp can shred through you really fast.
And I think on the side of FlyQuest, of course, we have to draw attention towards that change out in the mid lane. But when it looks to the losses of Fly, it's not necessarily coming down to a single player. It's the collective and something that's not meshing on the communication end. So if they're in this position where it's coming to more even footing and you're looking at which shot calling is going to be stronger in this regard, we'll have to see if they're able to come to a unified conclusion in what they want to do, or if they look like they're going towards separate plays. So that's why I'm kind of putting more of an emphasis on when you're noting that Spyrax might be a little unsure of where he's supposed to go. What is happening in those comms for Fly and what they should be doing with their game plan?
Absolutely. It totally makes sense. You know, it's your first game in the LCS here. You're going to be very nervous. I think there's a lot of pressure on you, especially because I'm sure it's a pretty tense atmosphere over at FlyQuest because they, you know, were expected to potentially win the split. And now it's like, well, I hope we can make playoffs. So you kind of have to be getting wins right out the gate, which just adds to that pressure. And, you know, you really don't want to disappoint here as Spyrax. You want to be able to have a great debut. We saw, you know, APA got to come out, have this kind of triumphant debut. You know, the excitement that is there with that. You know, he wants to be able to recreate that, and we'll see if he's going to be able to do it. But, you know, it's easy to kind of point the finger and say everything was on Vicla, but very clearly it was not. There's been so many issues for FlyQuest across the board. They have just, as you said, not really been on the same page a lot of times. They're struggling individually. They're struggling as a team. Their comms, you know, seem to be an issue. Spica talk about that on the dive. And if you're interested to hear more of a deep dive on that, you should check out that episode that we just put out yesterday or the day before with Spica, because he talks a lot about what his belief is for their issues. And it's a really interesting chat.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting how much credit he was giving to the mid laners he'd been paired with, having that veterancy, you know, people like Bjergsen, right? Power of evil. Always somebody there that can kind of lead some of that gameplay charge.
Yeah.
And now with FlyQuest having to find their identity as a team, who is making that call, or as Vulcan said in his Decon interview, who is also calling when they should back off of bad plays.
Exactly. You know, he played with Bjergsen, he played with Maple, he played, you know, with Power of Evil, all these guys who have probably some of the most games played in their competitive careers of anyone in the world. So he played with all these veterans. He also gave a lot of credit to the coaches that he actually had, you know, at TSM to really help him, and talked about how that is such a big difference maker when you're a young player. Being able to come up with veterans who can help to guide you, who can help to kind of set you on that right path, can really accelerate your growth. So we'll see if Spyrax is able to have that, because he obviously has a tremendous amount of experience on this team that he's joining, you know, with guys like Impact and Vulcan around him who have been in the scene forever. And Spica himself is becoming a veteran as well.
Yeah.
Has been in the league quite a long time, but you know, everyone having their own individual things to focus on makes it harder.
All right, now in mid though, route onto Contractz as FlyQuest continue to progress forward. Spyrax just came in off of the TP. It was the downtown ult onto Contractz from Vulcan. This turret, just a little bit of life left to it before FlyQuest can knock it down with the help of a wave.
Yeah, the initial engage is pretty decent onto Prince, but the problem is Ivern's behind him. If you don't have a lot of damage there to insta-kill him, it all just gets reset. The shield comes in, the redemption drops down, he's healed right back to full, and now they're just going to force the Baron here. There are the Hex Gates coming out.
50% on the Baron. FlyQuest ready to turn it. Ornn thrown by Dhokla, gets a knock up onto 3. Impact with the damage pop into the back line. Palafox is attempting to make a play as well. Gets a shutdown onto Prince. Most of the damage eliminated for FlyQuest as NRG push FlyQuest off of the Baron and take some lives down with them.
That was a huge ulti from Dhokla to start it off. Looked like connected on 3, and then Ignar's there with the follow-up on the multiple members. So now the shoe is on the other foot here. Palafox is going to get a freebie onto Vulcan, and they're going to get the Baron. FlyQuest lose their lead out of nowhere. Thought they were in a great spot. They had enough tempo on the map that they thought they could just rush down the Baron, make something happen there after a play that went well for the mid lane. But at the end of the day, NRG come out, they wipe them at Baron, they take the Baron for themselves. And that is like a 3.5k gold swing in a matter of minutes. FlyQuest went from in control to now massively behind, and it's really off of this engage. Look at that, connecting on all 3 members there. All these squishy members getting tagged. Prince gets tagged, Spyrax gets tagged, as does Spica. Spica with the self-shield trying to keep himself safe, but Prince is pushed out immediately. Palafox finds the angle to jump on in. They just get put into a bounce house as Ignar had a great follow-up on the ulti. And the carries on the side of NRG found their opportunities. You know, FBI was straight into the backline for a kill. Palafox had so much space created for him that he could dive in as well. And it was just the complete opposite story for FlyQuest, whose carries were just scattered to the winds immediately from the word go.
And coming into this game, Ornn, Sejuani, Rell, so many CC tools for them in these fights to set up FBI and Palafox to be able to follow up with that damage. And that was a great use of the call of the Forge God into the Magnet Storm on the NRG side to ensure that was possible. And now, with just under 2 minutes on this Red Bull Baron buff,
Oh, look at
they're
Impact.
putting their sights over on this bot turret.
Impact's going to try to look
make
out the brush.
play. He's in the brush. FBI going in the backline with a killer instinct. And Impact, though, even though he tries to go for it, can't last very long when everyone from NRG turns back his way and the rest of FlyQuest is split.
This could actually be the end of the game right here. It went out of control so fast as they try to pull off this risky play through bot lane, but it's against a Baron buff team. They insta-kill 2 members. NRG don't want to risk it, so instead they're just going to push through mid, where Dhokla already has it set up. Not going to go for the end. Could have potentially made it happen, but they don't need to flip it. They can just take a guaranteed second inhibitor here through mid.
Vulcan just now spawned, but still 15 seconds before Impact comes on through. Spica's thrown down Daisy, and no more Daisy to help. Prince taken out. So big damage dealer from FlyQuest isn't here. Instead, though, NRG, they take the inhibitor. They claim that prize and just gate on out of there.
Oh, no.
Oh, Spica Hexgate to follow up, then has to flash over the wall.
Yeah, trying to go in there, not able to find anything, immediately has to flash out. And this game just got out of control so ridiculously fast. FlyQuest were in the lead for such a long time here, 1-2K ahead, not able to find anything around that Baron that they try to force. It just was such a disaster play there for them. And now Impact is going to be pushed back. They already have double inhibitor down. They're pushing through top. It is now a 7K nearly advantage coming through here. Dhokla has his first couple Ornn upgrades already unlocked, so you can basically make it, another couple thousand gold worth of stats. They're now down essentially 9K from, I want to say it was like 5 minutes ago, they were up 1,000 gold. It is a ridiculous turn, and FlyQuest has completely fallen apart, and now NRG, I think, has a pretty easy close from here with 2 massively strong carries, multiple forms of engage, and just a brick wall of a front line.
Yeah, this gold lead got massive so quickly. It was at 5.5 down below, but now Contractz, though, stepping up a bit too much into the brush, shut down by Vulcan. FlyQuest attempting to make their stand, but look at the burn onto Impact. Kill credit going over to Palafox. So now the numbers are evened once more. Top laner for jungler, and the range is still there for NRG, which means they can take down that turret, and the Ornn horn being blown once more. Another triple knockup, but onto members directly under the turrets. So Ignar goes in with a Magnet Storm. Explosive charge onto Vulcan. Double kill for Palafox, and NRG swung it all back real quick and take the win over FlyQuest in a fashion that was not expected.
That was a crazy turnaround in this game. NRG, it looks like it's an absolute stomp. I mean, if you check the scoreline in this game, it's a 10K lead, 27-minute Nexus kill here. But it was not until 22:50 into the game that they even took a lead. Like, that is so fast that they were able to close this out. So they get a